Welcome to this explainer. We're diving straight into the unthinkable today. We're talking about a story that has literally sent shockwaves across the entire globe. Brazil, the heavily favored five-time world champions, suffering a completely stunning elimination by Norway at the 2026 World Cup. So let's get into it, because this wasn't just your everyday loss. This was a monumental collapse of a footballing giant that rolled up with a constellation of stars, guys like Neymar, Vinícius Jr, and Alisson, only to watch the whole dream shatter. To really wrap our heads around the gravity of this moment, we've got to look at the sheer historical weight Brazil carries. This shocking 2-1 defeat marks their earliest exit from the tournament since all the way back in 1990. But honestly, what's even more agonizing for the nation is that it extends Brazil's World Cup title drought to what is now going to be at least 28 years. For the most successful football nation on the planet, a delay like this isn't just a bummer, it's practically treated as a period of national mourning. The dream of that mythical sixth star, delayed yet again. Now, the real story of the match boils down to one staggering statistic. Brazil managed a measly 34% possession against a completely dominant Norwegian side, who held the ball for a massive 66% of the game. Just think about that. Brazil, a team historically famous for their beautiful, flowing, possession-based football, completely dictated to by Norway. Part 1. Anatomy of the defeat. The 2-1 collapse. So this whole thing went down on July 5th at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey during the round of 16. Now, normally this is a stage where Brazil is just warming up, but instead, for almost 80 minutes, it was this wildly tense, scoreless deadlock. Then, bam, in the 79th minute, Erling Haaland powers home a header to break it wide open. As Brazil desperately scrambled to respond, Haaland doubled down and struck again in the 90th minute. Now, Neymar did manage to bury a penalty deep in stoppage time in the 100th minute to be exact, but it was just too little too late. A clinical finish, sure, but ultimately just a tragic consolation prize. Moving to part 2, the VAR Controversy, a system in question. To understand the sheer frustration radiating from the Brazilian camp, we have to talk about the video assistant referee, better known as VAR. The system set a ridiculously tense tone right from the jump in this match. Just 3 minutes in, Norway appeared to strike first through Patrick Berg, but VAR intervened, confirming the goal had to be disallowed for offside. And while that was correct by the strict letter of the law, that intense, zoomed-in microanalysis right at kickoff put absolutely everyone on edge and perfectly set the stage for the drama that followed. The real elephant in the room here was the sheer inconsistency the players felt on the pitch. In one breath, the system worked in Brazil's favor, overturning a no-penalty call for a foul on Matheus Cunha, though, interestingly enough, Bruno Guimarães actually missed the resulting shot. But then later, as Brazil was throwing everything forward seeking an equalizer, similar pleas were just totally ignored. That inconsistency, handing them a lifeline one moment and stonewalling them the next, left the players feeling completely robbed of their crucial momentum. And that perceived unfairness, it led to pure devastation on the sidelines. You can literally hear the raw emotion in this quote from Brazil's coach, Carlo Ancelotti. He called the result chastening and bitter. But what's really fascinating is he openly stated he didn't believe his team actually deserved to lose. He urged the nation to use the pain as fuel, but man, in the immediate aftermath, you could see his sadness mirroring the utter disbelief of his squad. Which brings us to part 3, Neymar's final chapter, a complex legacy. As if crashing out wasn't painful enough, the heartbreak was immediately compounded by an announcement the footballing world simply wasn't ready to hear. At 34 years old, Neymar Jr is officially hanging up the iconic yellow shirt. And there is this deeply tragic poetry to how it ended. Think about this. 16 years ago, Neymar made his international debut against the US right here at MetLife Stadium. Fast forward to today, fighting through a nagging calf injury as a 67th minute sub, his international journey ends in the exact same building where it all began. When you look past the cold, hard statistics of a devastating loss, there is just raw humanity. A tearful Neymar delivered these exact words to reporters back in the locker room. "I tried. It started here, and I finished here. It is now over." It's just a heavy, incredibly emotional bookend to one of the most scrutinized yet celebrated careers in modern sports. He leaves behind a fiercely complicated epic. 130 appearances, an Olympic gold medal, a Confederations Cup, and he even surpassed the absolute legend that is Pelé to become Brazil's all-time leading scorer with 80 goals. But the ultimate prize, the World Cup trophy itself, forever eluded him. For all his absolute brilliance on the ball, the one piece of history he chased the hardest, is going to remain forever out of his grasp. The atmosphere at the final whistle was honestly something out of a surreal nightmare for the Brazilian favorites. Over 80,000 fans packed into the stands were stunned into absolute total silence as Norway celebrated their historic milestone. This wasn't just a game coming to an end, it was the abrupt, shocking close of the Neymar era. It cemented a permanent, undeniable turning point in football history, leaving an entire nation to once again mourn the delay of their sixth star. So as Norway proudly marches on to their first ever quarterfinals to face either Mexico or England, we're left to endlessly debate this massive historic upset. The VAR decisions from this game alone are going to be analyzed under a microscope for years, maybe even generations. Which leaves us with one final, lingering question to ponder. Was this simply a fair result earned by a dominant Norwegian side, or did a failing system just steal Brazil's dream? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.